Alright, here's another quick little video. As a prop maker, I tend to look at things a bit differently than the people I associate with, and this particular item is no different. I'm not sure you can actually recognize what the parts are used for. It is a prop, and it is 3D printed, as you can see, and it's in the white PLA. And from just looking at the general shape of what these items are, you may have guessed it's going to be a plastic 3D replica of the Golden Gun. I did make some changes on these because, again, that's my nature. And I'm not even sure where to begin because I've pretty much changed everything. So what I'll do is I'll start with this part here on the end. This, of course, is the cigarette case. It's what would hold cigarettes, and I think the real deal actually had solid ends. They weren't removable, and there was a door that would open and they would put their cigarettes in there. So apparently, to get this to do what they wanted to do in the Golden Gun, they sealed up the door, they remade it and no longer has a door on the front. The top has been cut off. They manufactured a hinge that would allow the top to open. And so I changed the print a bit so that the hinge itself is actually a separate piece, so that when it's printed it doesn't need to put any supports up the side to support the hinge. So that is a piece that I sliced off, and of course it's now reattached as a hinge, and it was printed separately, again, to get a nice clean hinge there. On the top, normally the way this works, on the top this would actually open like that, and it would then attach to the lighter portion. That would be this. It would then attach to the lighter. I will show that to you. But in the process of doing that, they poke a hole in the top of the cigarette holder so that the cuff link can actually go through the hole and attach to the part of the lighter. Personally, I didn't want to see that hole while this was closed, so I made some changes in the print. As you can see, there's no hole evident here, and of course when it's all painted black, painted gold, you won't see any the hole at all, which would be kind of a dark black color if it was not filled in. So what I did is I added a pin. So this is a pin that I added so that when the lid of the cigarette holder is closed, it's pretty much flush across the top. So that was a change that I made. And also I added this here. This is another little pin I added, and I will show what that's for later in the video, which again involves the lighter portion at the top. So basically it hinges open, and I'm going to put magnets right here, two little magnets to hold the door portion here closed, but in this case it snaps closed because of this pin, so it doesn't necessarily actually even need that, but I'll probably end up doing that anyway because it might wear that portion out anyway. So this is open. It's got the little hook here, which then captures the lighter when it is assembled. So I'm going to close that. Another option I did here that is different than most all of them is the space in here is hollow, is empty, but now I've actually added a little drawer. So if you're trying to quit smoking, you can put some gum in there. So instead of cigarettes, you can actually add a couple of sticks of gum. So that's been added as well, little door, and it's pinned, so of course it doesn't pull itself out. I have some some slots printed in on the sides, and there's a couple set screws that hold it from dropping out. So there's that. And I'll probably also on the end of the day add a magnet at the top here on the inside, and a magnet at the top of the drawer as well, so that it actually locks itself. It kind of locks anyway, but I'm going to go with a magnet up here, so when I reprint this there'll be a spot up inside there for the magnet, and of course the same for the drawer. There'll be a spot for a magnet to be attached. So I think that's the thing with the cigarette holder. So far that's that. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to show is the lighter. You can see it's also 3D printed, and the knurling really turned out great. All the way around, the tops, everything, it's knurled really nice, and it's literally a perfect, perfect print. I've seen others where there was difficulty in the print, especially when the knurling is pointing upward. The sides are done very well on the printer, you can see here, but in this case the bottom didn't have any knurling, so it could be printed standing up, and of course there wouldn't be a lid on it, so that was printed separately. The issue with printing the lid in the knurling is that if you print it laying on its back here or on the top, you can't really get a good print from that. So it would have to be printed standing up, or actually standing up, so that you could actually get it to print. So I made some changes in the lid to actually get a much cleaner print, not only all the way around, but on the top as well. So that was some changes in that. Also, I couldn't locate a metal hinge, the little 14mm hinge, so I went ahead and printed one. So basically there's a printed hinge in here, just enough so that I could actually still use the lighter door here, the lid, as it was intended. But right now, currently, it's not actually glued in, it's not actually attached. So I can go ahead and remove it here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that so I don't break it off while I'm showing. This actually comes off like that. You can see there's a magnet right there and a magnet here, which helps to hold the door in the closed position. That's what it's for. One thing about the hinge is you can see it's very small and very delicate. So again, I wanted to go ahead and just remove the door and set it aside so I don't damage the little hinge while I'm showing. So anyway, so that's a little hinge made out of PLA. Also, there's little wings on the side here. I added little tabs on either side of where the flame would be in the lighter. I added those tabs because when the door was actually closed, it would move from side to side. It would actually flop around and rotate on the hinge a little bit, and it kind of cheapened it. So I went ahead and put these little side wings on there, so it actually captures in here a little better. So it's much more side to side. It won't wiggle from side to side. So I added that again as a bit of an improvement on the original. You can see the bullet. This is the 3D printed bullet. Also, what this one does is, of course, we have our slide out slide, but I went ahead and added a stopper so that basically it comes out and it stops on its own, so that it doesn't just fly out. So in order to accomplish that, I added a little set screw so that it would actually stop, and there's a slot been machined or printed in at the bottom down there so that this actually rides in a slot and it will stop. And you can see there's a hole right here, so that hole, that's where I actually put the set screw down through that hole, but when it's closed, it's hidden right there, so you don't actually see the hole. So that's hidden from view when the lighter is not in use as far as the Golden Gun. We have the hole here, and that's where the cuff link goes in, and I made some changes there as well. I don't know if you can kind of see in the video, there's actually the head of a threaded screw right there. So I cut the head off and put a slot in it, and so now the cuff link can be threaded in this way, so the threads are actually running down through this tube. So instead of having threaded pieces visible here on the outside, the threads are now on the inside of the tube, and this actually will fit around the head of the end of the screw here, and of course it just threads in like that. So that was a change. I wanted to again make it not so obvious what this actually did. I didn't want any threads on there, and of course when this is painted gold, the head of that will be gold as well, and it'd be less visible. So that was a change. Also in here I made this so it would pivot. So now it's more like the trigger would be. So once this is threaded all the way up and it's holding the cigarette lighter, this actually pivots now to make it more like the trigger would be. So I did that, and I know the real cufflink had a swivel right here, but I went ahead and made it pivot right there. So basically, instead of here, I did it there. So that's my version of the improved plastic cufflink. So that is now a working kind of piece as well. So let's go back to this. I'm going to go ahead and slide that open. Now, one thing I noticed, this actually doesn't fit great. I mean, again, it's just a prop. It's just a simulated version of the Golden Gun, but it does have a tendency to be a little noisy. So I made some changes in that as well.